This is clip is for okay. Investigation is finished. So let's listen what they found in that investigation.
Anti-racism training for all employees.
Hello, welcome to MzansiOz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're welcome. So I always get this question from my fellow South African at home and other people who are living in different countries all over the world, just asking me if indeed is there racism in Australia. I get this question a lot. I think people ask this question because of the experiences that they've had, mostly notably in from South African history of apartheid. And some people ask it just because of curiosity of, you know, what's like to live in Australia? Is it Australia a racist society? And I really wanted to answer this question, and I wanted to see if I could find a recent example of whether or not Australia is a racist society. So we have an example. So I want you guys to listen to this clip. Okay, this clip is for a presenter that had to resign last year as a result of racism in Australia. So Stan Grant is working for Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which is a public broadcaster funded by us taxpayers, and he endured a lot of racist abuse from the public, from the Australian, and also from the media as well. And then he was not even protected by his employer, ABC. Okay, so we're just listening to him resigning. Okay.
Many of you would know by now that I'm stepping away for a little while. Sometimes we need to just take time out. Sometimes our souls are hurting, and so it is for me. I've had to learn that endurance is not always strength. Sometimes strength is knowing when to say stop. And to those who have sent messages of support, thank you so much. But I'll be okay. Please send that support and care to those of my people and all people who feel abandoned and alone, who are wondering whether they have a place in this country and who don't have my privileges. To those who have abused me and my family, I would just say, if your aim was to hurt me, well, you've succeeded. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I must have given you so much cause to hate me so much, to target me and my family, to make threats against me. I'm sorry. And that's what Yinjamara means. It means that I'm not just responsible for what I do, but for what you do. It's not just a word. It is sacred. It is what it means to be Wiradjuri. It is the core of my being. It is respect. It is respect that comes from the earth we are born into, from God, Bayami. If I break that, I lose who I am. I am down right now. I am. But I'll get back up, and you can come at me again, and I'll meet you with the love of my people. My people can teach the world to love. As Martin Luther King Jr. said of his struggle, we will wear you down with our capacity to love. Don't mistake our love for weakness. It is our strength. We have never stopped loving and fighting for justice and truth, the hard truths to speak in our land. Yinjamara Winangana means to live with respect in a world worth living in.
So you've listened to that video of him resigning. Fast forward, they had an investigation about the circumstances around what happened in the ABC broadcaster. So they've released that investigation is finished. So let's listen what they found in that investigation.
Contrition from the top.
That I am deeply sorry to anybody who has experienced racism at the ABC.
The ABC's Managing Director acknowledging and apologising for racism.
It cannot happen. It must stop. It must stop in society and it must stop for the ABC.
The independent review, led by Dr Terry Janke, was commissioned after Wiradjuri man Stan Grant stepped down from presenting programs, accusing the ABC of failing to defend him from racist abuse. 120 former and current employees spoke to the reviewers. All but one had experienced racism, including offensive remarks and exclusion, as well as barriers to career progression, pay discrepancies, and inconsistent support. This suggests racism is systemic at the ABC, the report found, and that the ABC's policies and practices disadvantage people who are First Nations and culturally and linguistically diverse.
It's a wake-up call for the national broadcaster that this has been happening for some time and right now, and that we all need to do better.
You have to name the beast to slay it, and that's a really important start, and so change is happening right now.
The report made 15 recommendations, all of which the ABC's management has accepted in principle. They include appointing a First Nations director to the leadership team, anti-racism training for all employees, and improving responses to public attacks on diverse staff. Former Race Discrimination Commissioner Chin Tan has been hired to help bring in change, but addressing some of the issues raised will require cultural shifts, a challenge for the ABC and Australian society. Melissa Clark.
So, is Australia a racist society? Now, I think you all know the answer to that. So, when you guys want to know whether Australian is a racist society, then you have to review this video again. And so you can have an answer for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what we already know. You can then determine the circumstances for yourself. I can tell you now that everything that came out from that ABC discrimination report is relevant to every workplace in Australia. ABC is not just unique in this case. Anecdotally, there's a lot of reports of people being undermined, being called aggressive, being called different names with no reason, no out of nowhere, just being accused of things that they haven't done. And when investigation happens, they end up finding out that actually there's nothing happened there, and the person end up leaving that place. Mostly it's to get people out of their position. If they have a position that they want to give to another person, most cases it will be someone who is Australian, they want to give that position, and then they start, if you're someone from the cult community, cult is cultural and linguistic diverse, then they would then try and create some stories, either accuse that person as aggressive. Aggression is one they would do mostly to black women, and also they would say communication. If someone, you're from a different culture, your cultural and linguistic background, yeah, they will cook up something that is unfounded, okay, and then to get that person to be discouraged, either that person will resign. In most cases, it may end up to be a very huge incident. Okay, so I know this to lived experience, and I also know this to anecdotal report that we get from our businesses that we provide personal leadership and development for people, and it can be very problem for most people and leads them to the long-term mental health and trauma as a result of this. And also, you know, it can also impact on the career as well, where they would go and work, because of the fear if they move to the next workplace will experience the same thing. It is costing a lot of billions of dollars in funds, in lack of productivity, in mental health in Australian society. It is absolutely massive, the cost related to this type of racism in Australia. So most people type of racism that is experienced is not a blatant type of racism. It is a covert racism. Covert racism is the one that used with like, you know, she's aggressive. She is, or he is aggressive, or she's aggressive, or I think it's a problem with communication and out of blue, somebody's been there maybe for many years working or whatever the thing may be. Uh, so just it is so, and then it is so intense for the person that gets affected by this. For Stan Grant, he had to resign from his role that he's had and working as an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander man, um, and leave that position that he had. So he was forced out of that position by Australians that were throwing all of those racist insults and threatening him and his family, and also by also the failure of the ABC to protect him as well. So we know that for the fact because the investigation is now completed and the outcome of that, there are a lot of recommendations they put forward, as you've heard. So this answer that question for you about is Australia a racist country? Okay. So hopefully I've answered that question. If you have any other question, please comment below. Until next time, have a lovely day. Bye for now.